year. And in the context of the climate action enhancement package and the NDC partnership provided technical and financial support to the Tajikistan and to increase the ambitious and the contribution of the country to the Paris Agreement. So the main objective here was there was two main objectives. So the first is enhance the NDC, and also by raising the ambitious as part of the Paris Agreement NDC update process, and also fast track implementation of the NDC, including providing in-country technical expertise and capacity building. So today we would like to just discuss, open the panel discussion concerning the entire process and the lessons, let's say the lessons learned within the process, yeah, of the NDC enhancement. So I would like to give, first to give floor to my colleague, Ms. Iveta Zenina, to provide brief information about the entire process of the NDC revision conducted in Tajikistan. So over to you, please, Iveta.
Thank you so much, Dalia. But can you give me a right to share my screen? Because I still cannot. So while we are sharing, maybe I will start to talk a little bit. I'm sorry, I was muted. Basically, this project and the CAEP partnership was a unique opportunity for different agencies and national counterparts to create as an outcome revised NDC document. But actually, it was not only the one, let's say, deliverable within this project implementation. Different implementing partners like World Bank and GIZ, UNDP, European Commission, and FAO, we worked closely together. And each partner had unique TOR, as it was connected to the particular sector to assess within the NDC revision process. Or, for example, in the FAO, we also provided some campaign awareness raising to let's say to make some insights for community in Tajikistan on the process on NDC and Paris Agreement generally. I still cannot share my screen, no, Dalia?
No, I already provided you. Yeah.
No, right. I cannot. I still cannot. But anyway, so. Yeah, as I said, so different implementing partners, they were responsible for different sectors. For example, European Commission for energy, UNDP for industry and construction and transport sectors, GIZ for agriculture, the World Bank for forestry, and also FAO produced some subsectoral report on irrigation in the Republic of Tajikistan. This project and let's say this process was complex at many levels, from administrative to technical one, because of course NDC document is let's say very detailed at some levels document where you need technically complicated data to assess, and then to follow some methodology how to produce a consistent document. which was complicated since different sectors were responsible or were under the revision of different implementing partners. Also within this project implementation, we had several meetings with different stakeholders. It was either interministerial technical working group with whom we met 4 times in order to collect the feedback on the different drafts of revised NDC, or and not all, but also to make this process more inclusive. Oh, now I can share my screen. I hope you can see it. Can you confirm, please?
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect. So yes, this was already information provided by Daler, like what was the objective of this process and the project implementation. This is, as I mentioned, that it was different implementing partners responsible for different contribution to the revised NDC, and actually beyond the revised NDC, also UNDP is responsible, and actually they already provided the government with the Ndc implementation plan. Also, like this project goes a little bit beyond the NDC, because the full document and the short version, they consist of ETF, or what are the gaps to of the transition to ETF, to enhance transparent framework. This is, you can see the deadline or the timeline that it started in June 2020 from the early beginning, and then it had different stages and milestones, let's say, and then finally on 12th of October, NDC document was approved. I will not give the details of the document itself, and like this session also will focus more on the pitfalls, like the technical and administrative and lessons learned, because on the 2nd of November, the NDC content was provided by our colleagues. So thank you so much, and I will give the floor back to Dalia, and I hope that we will have a very fruitful discussion today. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Iveta. So it's very nice, yeah, to discuss now. It is very good. It was actually a very good opportunity for jointly work with the support committee for environment protection to revise the NDC document in Tajikistan, and also to revisit the ambitions. Yeah. So now also as we are discussing lessons learned from conducting the NDC update process in Tajikistan, there we have 2 main points. The first is about the overall process, coordination, and technical issues, and also the second point is especially on the sectoral assessment conducted by each CAI partner. Yeah. So, and now I would like to give a floor to my colleague, Mr. Mauricio Zabala, who will deliver, let's say, presentation about the lessons learned of overall coordination process of the NDC enhancement. So, Mauricio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dalia. Thank you to everyone for the invitation. Have a short presentation about my main remarks about the entire process that we follow in Tajikistan. If you allow me, I will share my screen once Dalia grant me the permission.
Just a moment. Yeah, colleagues, can you help me? I cannot give the permission for sharing remotely files. Okay. Permission granted. Mauricio?
Thank you. See. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Not yet. Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, I think that it was already said by the lessons learned of the NDC update process in Tajikistan. My presentation has 3 parts. The first one is the main elements considering the updated NDC of Tajikistan, what was very important at the beginning of the process to explain what those elements were different from the initial NDC. The second point is about the process followed for updating, the NDC of Tajikistan, and why do we need to enhance ambition? That was one of the issues that was lengthy discussed with the Committee on Environmental Protection and other counterparts. And finally, lessons learned from the NDC update process. For me, I mean, all those elements which are, let me find this. All these elements here above are the new elements that were mandatory to be included in the new NDC update process. Information on clarity and transparency and understanding that was deemed by the decision of the COP, enhanced ambition that was the mandate as well of the COP, and enhanced transparency framework, which it was not something that needs to be duly do it at this stage, but we discussed it internally and we agreed that it was important to embark Tajikistan into this process and generating and thinking and how the enhanced transparency framework should be established in Tajikistan. The other issue that was also discussed was the contents of the adaptation communications and the need to convene both process, merging the adaptation communication process with the NDC. And finally, gender and youth elements that were also part of the update process. The axiom of the entire process was basically to establish an NDC update which is sound-based and robust scientific evidence. That's the formulation of the entire NDC update should be sound-based and robust scientific evidence. Taking into consideration all these new elements that needs to be included in the NDC update document, what it was necessary at the end of the day was to work again in the greenhouse gas inventory. I will explain later, and as well, and to work with the mitigation scenarios of the country and the definition of the targets. The third point was the discussion about the adaptation objective and plus the list of sectoral adaptive measures. Here we have a very good discussions with CAEP partners who also provided support in order to be the most comprehensive and the most updated in terms of what are the adaptive measures coming from the sectors. The ETF Enhancement Transparency Framework that we did in this document, we have a specific chapter on ETF. And one of the additional points was we work about means of implementation and how this should be, how these NDC targets and NDC contributions in terms of mitigation and adaptation should be implemented. Of course, UNDP is providing further support on the roadmap and how to do this. But anyway, the means of implementation was one of the issues that it was also duly worked during the process. Here is more or less about what happened. I see 3 phases in the entire process. The first one is the organizational phase, which was explained by Iveta. Basically, we have this NDC update process, where it was the settlement of the agreement and the task distribution of thematic areas which of support of the formulation of the NDC update by different CAEP partners. Sectors or topics chosen were basically energy, as I say, IVETA, that was in charge of European Union. The second one was industry and construction, did by UNDP, agriculture, which was in charge of GIZ, forestry, the World Bank, transportation and infrastructure by UNDP, water irrigation by FAO, and gender by FAO. So once the distribution was made, each partner has started to work with the government of Tajikistan and its different ministries. In this second technical phase, the second phase was basically all the technical work. So greenhouse gas emissions estimations plus the generation of country greenhouse emission scenarios. And also all the work done for adaptation and ETF. Those were the elements for me more important of that process. Once we received all the inputs coming from the different sectoral partners, we went into a review and harmonization of the preliminary results. And we find as a result of the revision of the preliminary results that there were a lack of data, and there was not a comprehensive data set of the greenhouse gas inventory, and therefore we update the greenhouse inventories, the entire data set from 1919 to 2016 with the 2006 IPCC guidelines. And that leads us to an adjustment of all sectoral assessment initially made from the different international partners. So once this was made for a second time, then the issue was to encompass and the sectoral assessment into the overall country emission scenarios. That was also very tricky. It was not easy, but at the end we managed to generate the baseline scenario, the unconditional, and the conditional scenarios. Those are reflected in the current NDC update document of Tajikistan. And the third phase, which is basically the decision phase, is the definition of the mitigation targets or contributions and of the adaptation objective. That it was lengthier than initially expected, but I think this is a good question for internal discussions within the government of Tajikistan. And finally, the submission of the NDC update document of the UNFCCC. That was more or less the process forward. And if we can move forward. So the lessons learned from my side, from our side, is basically data quality matters, especially for country reporting and greenhouse gas inventory. And as well, now I can put an ad about the BNL update report. Also, data quality matters in the sense that you have a robust country greenhouse emissions projections if you have a better data quality. That is clear. Therefore, lesser data quality implies broader assumptions, and broader assumptions implies increasing of the level of uncertainty, which is not advisable by the IPCC. Second point is methodologies plays a crucial role for estimating greenhouse gas emission reductions, as well for assessing vulnerability and adaptive capacity. That is crucial because we discussed, for instance, many times with different international partners about the methodology that they follow, if that methodology was more or less following the guidelines of the IPCC or not, or to what extent the models that were used were different and were providing a different type of information. So therefore, methodologies plays a crucial role. I think it's very important. And therefore, there is the need of establishing clearly the methodologies and potential models to be used for the sectoral assessment from the beginning, not at the middle, from the beginning. I think it's one of the key lessons from this entire process. The other thing is about enhancement of the ambition. This was a long discussion about how the enhancement of the ambition should be understood. And as it's written here, the enhancement is mainly understood as an increase in the ambition of the mitigation targets. What we discussed with the authorities in Tajikistan and also with the partners is that it's not all the mitigation. So in the case of Tajikistan, enhancement of ambition entails not all the mitigation, also includes adaptation as well, means of implementation. and the novelty of the updated NDC is basically the ETF section, which very few countries have a specific chapter on ETF, because it was not mandatory. But I think it's one of the good things of Tajikistan, that they put on the table what are the preliminary thoughts and the preliminary actions that Tajikistan is taking in order to build the ETF in Tajikistan. The 4 lessons for me is about definition of the targets and contribution and objectives. Regarding this specific issue, it's important that it's understood that targets and contributions should be based in scientific evidence rather than mainly in political will. And that is one of the key messages that was understood by the authorities in Tajikistan. So we can guarantee that the targets defined have a robust scientific evidence. Therefore, the process and assumption in the formulation of the plausible future scenarios matters. Why? Because, for instance, we have a set of scenarios run prior to the COVID impact, and then when we were doing this project, that was 2020 and 2021, we got this COVID-19, and the impacts of COVID-19 were drastic on the economy of worldwide, but also in Tajikistan. So produced that at the end, produced a setback in the economic growth of the country, and affected the initial assumptions of GDP growth and energy consumptions and that type of drivers that changed drastically the initial SATL mitigation scenarios. The definition of targets contributions should be an iterative process and need to be revised over the time. That is another key lessons in terms in that is not we shouldn't not do it once again and then revise it in 5 years. Probably now with the biennial transparency report, all the countries will be deemed in order to revise these initial assumptions. So I think I think one of the important lessons is that Tajikistan needs to establish an entire set of people that will be work on this on permanently way, and not solely on contractual way for 1 year or 6 months. Finally, about the Ndc implementation, the Ndc enhancement process requires to have a clear roadmap or implementation plan on how the targets and objectives will be achieved in 2 levels. First, on efforts or unilateral, and the second level is support required in terms of finance, capacity building, and technology. We worked very hard in order to provide initial numbers in terms of finance and required in order to implement the Ndc of Tajikistan. And as well, we indicated capacity building required and potentially technology. Even though there are some recommendations that technology needs to be further work on the coming years. I think with this, I'm finalizing my presentation. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much, Mauricio, for very good and informative presentation. So I would like to just say that overall, the coordination during the Ndc enhancement process was led by the Committee for Environment Protection and the government of Tajikistan. So in collaboration of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. However, FAO served as the coordination partner in the entire process. However, during the Ndc enhancement process, a vast contribution was provided by support partners. As it was already mentioned, so there was another, let's say, several support partners, including European Commission, GIZ, UNDP, and also the World Bank. So, and they conducted sector-specific research and provided information and contributed in the enhancement of the Ndc document and the revision of the entire process. Yeah. So, I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank our partners, the colleagues, and it was a really very great teamwork, conducted within the last 1 year. We jointly cooperate and did a very great job. So also, as I can see from the list of the participants, fortunately, we also have the participants from the GIZ, from the European Commission and the World Bank, who are, participated very actively in the entire process. So if there are anything to share, if there are any lessons learned specifically on each component or sector, if there is anything to share, please, floor is for you, colleagues from partner organizations. So I can see here Rosia, Alexei, and Bunavsha, please. Here is, and afterwards I would like to also invite colleagues for the questions and answer sessions. So I think it would be great if there is any ideas to share, any lessons learned. Colleagues?
Hi. Hello.
Yeah. Long time not seeing.
Yes, Daler, nice to see you, and thank you very much for inviting to this event. It's really nice to be again in the same room, even though virtual, and thanks again to all of you for this collaboration that we had with all our partners in the country, of course, with the Committee for Environmental Protection, the Hydrometeorology Agency, our main partner, the Ministry of Agriculture, with whom we closely worked on conducting the agriculture sector analysis, and of course, other development partners who were all part of this very important process. And it's, of course, very happy to see that the updated Ndc of Tajikistan was finished and was submitted prior to the COP happening. So I think that it was a great achievement. We did not prepare any presentation because we were preparing ourselves for a panel discussion. Therefore, I'm happy to share a few key lessons learned from our point of view. Once we also did some reflections on this process, I will mainly reflect and touch upon the overall issues of stakeholder engagement and coordination and so on. And my colleague Bunavsha from Unique Consulting, who supported us in the agriculture sector analysis, she will touch upon the technical aspects. Some of those were already mentioned by Mauricio, of course, and we also do relate to those, but I think it will be also useful to provide some insights from the sectoral sector assessment. So looking back and reflecting on the whole overall process, and then being aware that this is one of the several updates that all countries have to make still. And for example, in 2050, there will be initial round of NDC revisions. So already now it is advisable for the countries to start preparing for the future NDC revision process. Therefore, we identified 3 key areas which could help to prepare better and provide a better basis in order more efficiently to organize this process and execute it. And first and foremost is to provide in-depth information early on and engage through awareness raising activities with all partners, particularly with all the ministries and agencies that are key stakeholders of the Ndc and its implementation. So it's important to provide information about the the Paris Agreement itself, the role of the NDCs within the Paris Agreement, and how they actually relate to the work of each sector, and what type of opportunities they provide for these sectors once they elaborate these NDCs and also integrate their own priorities in those NDCs. Sorry, Mauricio, I think your microphone is on.
Sorry, Rosia. Sorry, I will mute it immediately.
It's fine. Yeah, so having all partners and stakeholders at the same level is very key and really helps to make the process more efficient and effective as well. And the second point is about the coordination and stakeholder engagement, given how complex this process is and the multiple partners and actors that are being involved in it. It is also advisable and recommendable that to make use of existing or develop a national coordination mechanism. We know that in Tajikistan, there is already experience, there are already basis for having such a national coordination mechanism that could be used for engaging all the partners from government and as well as the private sector, from academia and research institutions, and of course, NGOs. It is very crucial also to elaborate on the role of each sector in this process, and in order to engage them effectively, but also allow them to identify their priorities and to integrate these sectoral priorities into the NDC, because obviously the NDCs have to be developed on the base of whole of government, whole of society approach. So this is the main basis for this document. And as we also experienced, of course, it is a very high level and very technical process. And early on, also need to consider to provide more time and space for reviews and feedback loops, that all partners are able to look into the document, to review it based on their own sectors and once again their own priorities, and to provide their feedback on time. And also considering the depth of information and the volume of information that is being generated during the NDC updating process, it is probably not probably, but it is of very strong priority also to work on and strengthen further the national knowledge management system. We did face these challenges of collecting information, of validating the different data. So it would be probably advisable that such repository, such database or management system exists that collects, stores, and provides, makes accessible this different type of data that are needed for the NDCs. These are the GEG inventory, the sectoral statistics that are also used for mitigation and adaptation relevant work. And last but not least, I take the opportunity also to mention that the GIZ is collaborating with many countries, and it has developed an Ndc Handover Checklist that is meant to record all information from this recent updating process of the NDC, including the steering process, the stakeholders involved, the information and data collected for mitigation and adaptation, to store this in one single document and make it available for the future NDC processes and also for any other relevant policy processes, sectoral processes in the country, because then there is no need to use or search for information on different platforms, on different sources, but the document is there and readily available. So we hope that this tool can be also made use of by other countries. We will be happy to support Tajikistan in filling in this Ndc Handover Checklist, and yeah, as an input also for preparation for future processes. I think that, yeah, this is in short from my side, and I invite Bunavsha maybe to add in terms of some of the technical aspects of the sectoral analysis, which could be also useful. Please, Bunavsha.
Thank you very much, Rosia. Hello, everyone. Hello, colleagues. It's great to see you, many familiar faces. And yes, so UNIC was involved in conducting 2 analyses for the forestry sector and for the agriculture sector. And on a very positive note, I would like to mention that it was great to see to what detail this NDC in comparison to the previous NDC actually for the 2 sectors that are extremely important when it comes to the implementation. So the NDC can actually rely already, or the implementation plan can rely already on the many concrete measures that are included in the NDC, and consequently supporting partners can relate also to these measures that are very tangible in the NDC, like the nature-based solution and other approaches or other measures like afforestation and so on. So that was really great to see that detail. From the technical point of view, on the process, as Rosia mentioned, and also as Mauricio mentioned, yeah, several of these lessons learned indeed overlap with our view. So first of all, yeah, to keep it short, so I will not go into detail and repeat everything that Mauricio was already saying. So from the sector point of view, it is very crucial in the very beginning of the NDC process to set up a technical methodological framework, so that any partner who are dealing with sectorial analysis, that they are following the exact same methodological framework that is given for the entire process.
Bunavsha, we cannot hear you. I think there was due to some technical problems. Yeah, I mean, Bunavsha is rejoining. Bunavsha?
I'm very sorry, I'm back. Something
Okay.
I was kicked out. I'm sorry. So to set up a technical methodological framework from the very technical point of view, not going into the aim of the process, that's clear, but really like what are the baseline, what is the time frame, which IPCC methodology we are following, where is the inventory data, where to find the sectorial data, and all the methodological and technical data that is needed would be great to collect it somewhere and to set up the framework itself. So at the end that all results are somehow consistent and they would come together very well. I think this was one of the big challenges in the NDC process. That was at the end a bit hard to bring them all together and to make a consistent one target of the very different sectors. And the other one is so this is related to the GHG inventory at the sector level, but also at the national level, to have an information and data management system that would help the sectors to get consistent data wherever possible for whatever time frame to receive this data. So it's related to the MRV and transparency system that sectors could have access to. For this process, we receive the data in the Excel format and so on. So it was fine. However, maybe in the future it would be good that there is one central system that would be easy for all sectors to get access to, and at the same time to contribute to the system. So for example, the agriculture sector and the forestry sector, that they collect, monitor and collect their data for that specific system that could be in turn then used for the NDC revision process and could be part of the reliable GHG data. And at the sectors level, agriculture sector, we started very early, as you know, so we managed all the technical discussion and correction of the data and everything and revision very much on time. As for the forestry sector, I think, it would be also great in the future NDCs to consider this sector also from the beginning, so we have also sufficient time, or whoever is doing the sector analysis has sufficient time for the very detailed technical discussion with the sector colleagues. This was a bit difficult due to the time frame, but also given the COVID situation that we were not present in Tajikistan, and it was a bit challenging to do it online. So we hope for the next NDC we don't have the COVID situation and that things could go a bit smoother. Thank you so much. That's from my side.
Thank you very much, Bunavsha. It was very, the great ideas were shared, and highly appreciated. So I would like also, unfortunately, I cannot see Alexei anymore in the list of the participants. I think he joined us, and somehow I think he was kicked off. So if there are any, if there's no any ideas to share, maybe we can. I would like to suggest to shift to the questions and answer session. So if there's any questions or suggestions related to the lessons learned, please, if from the offline participants, if there's anybody, I cannot see in the screen the offline participants. Colleagues, can you hear me?
We should ask Dilawar Show, because I also cannot see them.
Dilawar Show, can you hear us? Dilawar Show? Colleagues, can you see us? Hello?
Mauricio, do you want to say something?
Yes, I would like to add something on based on the last intervention from Bunavsha.
No, but still, let's figure out that we are still with our room in Glasgow, because I don't see them, or maybe they just lost connection.
Colleagues, co-host colleagues, could you please confirm that if offline participants are also connected to our call?
Excuse me, Daler, do you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, we have some small technical problems. We are adjusting the camera, like to provide the video.
Thank you, Muzaffar. Muzaffar, can I ask you that if there is any participants, offline participants, would like to share their ideas, or if there are any questions, so we can also have the just their ideas also from the ground.
Why not? I think I will be first from our side.
Please.
From online and the offline side. Let me shift to the Russian because we have the translation here.
Yeah, please.
Во-первых, я бы хотел поблагодарить партнеров, команду FAO, Ndc Partnership, UNDP, GIZ, Всемирный банк, Европейский Союз, которые внесли свой вклад в разработку Ndc Таджикистана. Да, процесс очень был такой, как бы сказать, не то что незамедлительный, но обширный такой процесс был. Все были вовлечены в разработку, все линейные министерства, партнеры. Было много очень обсуждений по целям Ndc, по амбициям страны. Но те уроки, которые мы извлекли по разработке, они как раз будут хорошим подспорьем для Таджикистана в разработке прозрачности, рамок прозрачности в будущем. И на данный момент уже Комитет по охране окружающей среды совместно с агентством по гидрометеорологии, они рассматривают вопрос продолжения работы над улучшением системы MRV, так сказать, то есть мониторинга, отчетности, верификации, куда входит уже улучшение системы инвентаризации Республики Таджикистан. Плюс к этому в рамках ETF, если вы обратили внимание в Ndc, рассматриваются 3 этапа разработки этой, как бы сказать, Enhanced Transparency Framework, то есть прозрачность, рамок прозрачности и разработка рамок прозрачности в 3 этапа до 2030 года. Ну, те уроки, которые мы извлекли по разработке Ndc, помогут нам, так бы сказать, в дальнейшем, чтобы усилить систему инвентаризации, усилить систему мониторинга всех действий страны по смягчению, по адаптации. Это будет для нас хорошим подспорьем, и Комитет охраны окружающей среды и Агентство по гидрометеорологии уже рассматривают этот вопрос, и мы готовы сотрудничать дальше с нашими партнерами по развитию. Спасибо большое.
Большое спасибо, Музафар. Если еще есть другие участники, пожалуйста.
Daler, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mauricio had a comment or something.
Yeah, I mean, very good idea. So, Mauricio, please. I think I can see your hand, raised hand. Mauricio, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, please. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think one of the important issues that Tajikistan also needs to take into account in the future is not only on improving the data that provides the information for the greenhouse gas inventory. They need also to improve the methodologies. As you know, we have already the 2019 IPCC guidelines, and there is some modifications that needs to be conducted for the upcoming Ndc. And I believe this is one of the issues that Tajikistan needs to start to work on it better now than later in 4 years and running out of the time. The second thing is how to implement adequately the mitigation and adaptation measures for each sector. They are very ambitious and very general to some extent, but the question probably will be, what will be the metrics to measure, or especially the adaptation measures and the adaptive measures, in terms of how you can really provide or indicate that you are strengthening the adaptive capacity in the different regions of Tajikistan. And I think this is one of the things that it needs to be worked later in Tajikistan, in order to bring clarity on especially on support provided by international partners and results achieved. And finally, is the financial mechanism is also important. I think that is, in order to deploy the technologies foreseen by the different sectors, it's very important that technology assessment is conducted in Tajikistan, in order that you as a country, Tajikistan, could enable the right conditions in order to leverage additional funding for attracting investment on technology. And finally, I think this on gender issues, I think we made a big effort on gender, and I think different partners as well try to bring this issue to the table. But I think there is some extra time needed in order to work better on how to really mainstream gender in the different mitigation and adaptation measures. I think for agriculture, for instance, the role of gender is super important, is extremely important for Tajikistan, and I think that is one of the things that needs to be emphasized in the future. I will cut my intervention here. Over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mauricio, for sharing your ideas. Yeah, it is really very great, and in the future I think we should also think about these very important points. And I also see the raised hand of Rosia. Please, Rosia, so I cannot see any others, so please.
Yes, thank you, Daler. I wanted to refer to the points made by Muzaffar, that Tajikistan will start working or continue working on setting up the National Enhanced Transparency Framework, or the transition of the or transition to the Enhanced Transparency Framework in Tajikistan. And in that regard, of course, it is now, after probably the updating of the NDC, it's one of the big tasks that many countries also need to embark on, because of the transition, and because also from transitioning from BURs to the BTRs, and there's a lot of work needs to be done. And in that regard, it would be very useful also for us to learn what are the plans and the next steps. We did see that there are the stages that were indicated, right? Like what type of work needs to be done in which stage up to 2030, I believe. But it would be also good to see sort of an action plan or specific activities that are planned, and how we from our side, from the development side, partners, can contribute, can support Tajikistan in this transition to the Enhanced Transparency Framework. Because as you know, there are different initiatives available that do provide such support to countries in terms of improving the GHG inventory, in terms of adopting the new guidelines of the IPCC, and moving from one tier to another tier, and so on and so forth. There are different guidances available of how to prepare for the BTR reporting. Therefore, it would be very good, if we can also, if such information will be made available when it is ready. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rosie. I think it is very important to know the main priorities, and let's say to see the directions where we need to bring and join the forces and support the government of Tajikistan in the future activities on the adaptation, mitigation measures, cross-cutting issues, and also the attracting the financial means, and yeah, as you mentioned, the transferring from the to the enhanced transparency framework from the MRV system is also, yeah, will take some time, because yeah, just shifting from one tier to the next is also relate to the quality of the information from the field, yeah, availability of that information, which is already mentioned by the colleagues, that it is very important. So Rosia, your hand is still raised. I mean, if you, yeah, okay, so it's old hand. Yeah, I mean, dear participants, if there is no any other ideas to share, I would invite you to shift to the next question. For today, our panel discussion, we already start, some of our participants already start to talk about the future activities, yeah. So I would like to also bring your attention and ask your opinion about the challenges ahead for the next round of the NDC update. Here again, we have two levels, the global issues, yeah, coordination, technicalities, yeah, finance, yeah, etc. And the second level, which is rather sectoral, and the challenges of the each sectors. What, yeah, if you have, yeah, I think it would be great to from your perspective, the main contributors for the sector specific research or activities which were conducted in Tajikistan. If you have any, I mean, ideas, yeah, please, it would be very great to share your opinion.
Yeah, Dalir, maybe I also can start with this question.
Yeah, so I cannot see any other. Next, I think Bunavsha, please start.
Yeah, I will start, and then yeah, Bunavsha can add. We already, yeah, I think in our lessons learned, we also touched upon already the forward-looking work that needs to be done, and considering, yeah, our engagement with the Minister of Agriculture, and yeah, what could be the next steps ahead or the related challenges. I mean, I guess everyone is clear how important is the agriculture sector for Tajikistan, and you know it very well also from FAO side. It is a very big, very important and diverse also sector, and it is of a high importance for the agriculture sector to be adapted to the impacts of climate change in Tajikistan. First of all, considering, yeah, the agriculture output, yeah, the production systems, the role of the agriculture GDP for the national economy, the employment, the livelihoods dependence on agriculture, and so on and so forth. They're very important criteria, yeah, around the sector. And of course, the interlinkages between the different nature resource bases in Tajikistan, the agriculture crops production, the water resources, the food security, and then with the water resources, of course, the energy security and energy nexus. So there are multiple complex interlinkages, and we think that a really strong emphasis needs to be made on how to mainstream climate change in the agriculture sector, how for the sector to be ready and to be prepared for addressing the vulnerabilities that are already visible in the agriculture sector, and how to minimize them, or how to adapt to these climate change impacts in the sector. And we already see, of course, some activities that the ministry does itself, and also with the support of development partners, how to integrate certain type of measures, how to adapt new varieties of new types of agriculture practices, and so on. But this is still in very early stages, and we really look forward that more and more initiatives and projects or activities will be supporting the agriculture sector to be better prepared to address the impacts of climate change. And definitely, we hope that the small sector analysis that we did, it's very small still, but it will be an input to probably a bigger and even more in-depth study that is needed to learn and to identify options for agriculture sector, both in terms of adaptation, first of all, but secondly, for mitigation. So these are some of the lessons or plans probably that could be set forth. And we also know that the GIZ and the European Commission started a project that supports the Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Water Resources. And we do hope that they will take into account the work that was done under the Ndc updating process, and they will mainstream the Ndc of Tajikistan into the work of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Water Resources. So this, I think, would be a very, very positive way forward for the agriculture sector. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rosia. Definitely, Tajikistan is agrarian country, and the agriculture is in the heart of the, let's say, development mode, and in Tajikistan. So definitely, I think we need to think about in the future that one of the bigger challenges is let's say, first to adapt to the all new challenges been caused by the climate change, especially now when we can see in Tajikistan more than 1,000 glaciers already disappeared, and the biggest glacier is also melting and fetching up. And more and more farmers becoming, let's say, dependent on the different, let's say, challenges caused by the climate change. And also disaster risk reduction is also playing the main role here, because we are in the very mountainous area, with the very, very complex orography, let's say. So now I would like to also give a chance to Bunavsha, please. You raised your hand.
Thank you very much, Daler. Yes, from the sector's point of view, the agriculture as well as forestry, they are, in terms of integration or mainstreaming of climate change into the sectors, they are at the same level, more or less. So our key recommendation in both of the reports is to conduct indeed a very in-depth sectorial analysis on vulnerability of the sector and how mitigation and adaptation measures can be integrated into the sector at very different levels, at the national level, at the sector level, and how they should be reflected in the local plans. Just an example, so as we all know, Tajikistan doesn't have big forest resources, but those we have are very much under pressure. But we also at the same time found out in our analysis that they have rather strong mitigation potential, or to contribute to the mitigation potential. And if reforestation and afforestation are one of the key measures, then, and as you know, Tajikistan, for example, did a pledge on the bond challenge to rehabilitate or to regenerate 66,000 hectares of forest. So how this is reflected in the local plans, so that is then achieved in order to report to the bond challenge, to the NDC and so on. So it's top down, but also bottom up process. So conducting such an analysis and doing the planning for mitigation and adaptation for both sectors is the, from our point of view, is the main next step to really reflect climate related measures in the both sectors. The other is, of course, related for the challenge, what your question posed is in the next NDC is we continue to see the data challenge, especially in the forestry sector. Yeah, this is, I think, one of the challenges that would have to be dealt with, not only in the sector, but at the national level, as already Muzaffar also mentioned about the MRV and transparency framework. I believe and I hope that until we prepare the next NDC, that the data challenge and the GAT challenge will be, to extent possible, dealt with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bunavsha, for sharing very good ideas and the thoughts about the future challenges. Yeah. So yeah, the data. I mean, let's say access to the data is also, I mean, a big challenge, a big key, let's say, key in the let's say implementation of the activities in the future. So yeah. Agree. So if there is, Mauricio, if you have anything to share, please, I mean, or if there is any participants, offline participants, I cannot see any hands, from the offline participants. Yeah, I see. Yeah, Mauricio, please. Yeah, so far we did not receive anybody from the offline participants. So please, Mauricio.
Yes, I think I was listening carefully to Rusia and Bunavsha, and I believe that is one tip for Tajikistan and for the next round of NDCs. The tip is start earlier, and the second tip is mainly. I think that it's necessary to think in different type of scenarios, and that it's important for, especially for agriculture, water, and forestry, all those sectors depending on climate and weather, because we are not 100% sure if the way that we are building our policies and our plans, which is basically based on the past actions and trying to combine with GDP into the future actions and the future results, that will happen in the future. So we are not certain sure how much water exactly we will have and how productivity will be the different cultivations, for instance. I mean, this type of things we need to take into account more carefully and include it into the new update plans of Tajikistan. This is my second tip to everyone. Over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mauricio. Very nice ideas. So colleagues from the offline colleagues, I cannot see. I mean, I still cannot see if there is any ideas or any participant who would like to share their ideas, please. So far, no hands I can see. Yeah. Okay. Just to finalize our today, before finalizing our today discussion, I would like to also just to see that maybe from our colleagues or from the colleagues from the Hydromet and Committee for Environment Protection, and also the developing partners who make a great contribution for revising of the NDC document in Tajikistan. Maybe there is any key message for the Ndc implementation, let's say. So the document was jointly prepared. Yeah, we combined all the ideas, information, and now yeah, it was presented. successfully. So yeah, and if there is any messages for the implementers of the NDC document, it would be great, let's say, idea to finalize our today panel discussion is that Muzaffar, I see, yeah, you would like to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Daler. Of course, from let's say from our side, I mean, from the side of the Committee for Environmental Protection and the Agency on Hydrometeorology. As you mentioned regarding the implementation plan of the NDC, of course, we are ready to cooperate with our partners. However, I know that the UNDP already provided a draft of the implementation plan to the committee, and this is under the revision now. Maybe after the conference, when we will arrive to the country, we will sit and discuss ongoing steps, like further steps, how to implement it. And within the implementation, of course, we need to also consider the activities on the ETF, the activities on the MRV, the activities to set up our GNG inventory. And of course, during the implementation, the committee also foresee to start the projects on the capacity building on the international transparency, I mean the CBIT projects. And beside that, with the implementation, I hope that we will start the second biennial update report preparation of this document, and we'll start the preparation on the fifth national communication. And by the way, during the COP, we also attended the multilateral assessment where our first biennial update report was revised by the countries, by the international communities. We also proceed with this. We were attending to, let's say, to discuss the first biennial update of the Tajikistan. So we already, like, let's say, our biennial update report was revised by the international community and was accepted by the UNFCCC Secretariat. So we are hoping that the lessons learned during the NDC process will be included in future activities like preparation of the documents, preparation of the next NDC by the 2025. And of course, all these lessons learned will be included in the main document, which needs to be submitted by each country under the UNFCCC Biennial Transparent Report. So I hope that our future cooperation will continue with FAO team, with NDC partnership, with other partners who are implementing the NDC, and wishing you, all of us, good luck in future cooperations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Muzaffar. It was very great, yeah, to hear your opinion about the entire process. Yeah, definitely. Currently, FAO is very closely working with the Committee for Environment Protection, and under the Readiness Project, we are jointly now working to firstly to revise the country program, and for the next biennial, and also the MRV system, and also to see the possibilities, and also to raise the capacity for moving to the, or let's say for the transferring to the ETF. So, but it is ongoing. So we are working on now, and jointly, and really very much hope that in the future also there will be more opportunities to work under the CBIT project also, and support the government of Tajikistan, presenting by the Agency on Hydrometeorology, Committee for Environment Protection, or for let's say to implement that let's say activities and that ambitions which reflected in the revised NDC document. So yeah, and currently we are finalizing jointly with the national and international experts of the FAO. We are finalizing the full size of the NDC document, and yeah, I hope that for the coming weeks and also after the returning of the our Tajik delegation, we will be in the position to finalize and submit the document and yeah, to let's say, and also to see that our next steps, more close cooperation. So if they are, I cannot see any other hands. If there anything to share, please, colleagues. Otherwise, I would like to suggest to finalize our today panel discussion. And yeah, so I cannot see any hands. So I would like thank all of the participants for very active engagement and sharing the ideas and the thoughts. So it was a really under the new reality, it was a great pleasure to discuss and to see you virtually, and also to disseminate some ideas and plans for the future. And yeah, I really hope that in the future we will have more opportunities to support the country and also to implement the all the ambitious and plans included and priorities included in the NDC, and also will be able to shift from a tier to the next tier and from the MRV to system to the ETF. Thank you very much, colleagues. I highly appreciate the support of the all developing partners, and also one more time would like to thank the Committee for Environmental Protection under Government of Tajikistan, and also Agency on Hydrometeorology under the Committee for Environmental Protection. And yeah, I would like to also convey my the big thank to our translators of today's event, and also the colleagues from the CAREC who are, I mean, supported the let's say, arrangement of our today event. Yeah, thank you very much. Hope we'll see some days in the future somehow.
Thank you very much, Daler. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, colleagues.
Bye.
Thank you, speakers.
До свидания.
До свидания.
Далер.
Хай. Захар, пока.
Спасибо. До свидания.
До свидания. Спасибо большое. Коллеги, большое спасибо.
Акидалеп чхе.
Да, Рамад, ты. Как me гардеш му?
Я не слышу вас.
Мегум, как me гарде?
Не слышу, серьезно не слышу.
Ладно.
Счастливо, Акош. Увидимся.
Окей.
Далер.
Да. Лабай.
من میخواستم یکو پرابلم را گپ زنم خاک دیگه داخل چی نشید که همین پرابلم های وزنی که مسئله